Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Rachel Williams begins now.
Good evening, everyone. A fourth Tasmanian healthcare worker has been diagnosed with coronavirus in the state's northwest as authorities ramp up their investigation. The public has also been issued with a stern warning to stay home, with some stores still seeing shoppers flood in.
Back at work after only one day off, a frustrated Peter Gutwin had to spell it out again.
I was very concerned at the number of people that were still out and about, browsing shops, moving throughout the community.
In Launceston, shoppers went about life in defiance of the disease. Some purchases hardly what you'd call essential.
There still seem to be a lot of people going to the shops who really shouldn't be there. There's no urgent need for them to be ducking down to pick up a couple of things when they actually could be at home.
Hobart's Farmgate Market was also in the firing line.
Long lines of people outside of the market with no social distancing occurring. To be frank, I'll be looking at this later today, but I think today is the last day for the farmers market.
Shocked organisers insist they've followed every rule and say livelihoods will be wrecked by the decision.
I think it's really disappointing, considering that we've gone over and above the expectations of the government in terms of operating this market in a safe manner.
The Premier issued a statement hours later, promising to reconsider closure if the City Council mitigates the concerns of health officials. Meanwhile, another worker at the Northwest Regional Hospital has contracted the virus. It's the third case at the facility and the fourth case in the healthcare system. Urgent investigations are underway. Hospital operations will be disrupted.
There would be no new admissions to the medical and surgical ward, and appropriate hygiene and PPE measures would be put in place.
Overnight, a child was also diagnosed. She had been a passenger on the Ovation of the Seas.
They did not attend school and they're being managed at home.
And after pressure from Labor and the Greens, upper house elections in Huon and Rosevears are being postponed. The date is yet to be decided. As Easter approaches, Tasmanians are being bluntly told to stay put. Forget about visiting shacks or the coast. Heavy fines await those flouting the law. Although the Premier is making one exemption.
That the Easter Bunny can be classed as an essential traveller and therefore will be in the state over Easter and able to deliver Easter eggs.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Premier Peter Gutwin spoke to us a short time ago. Good evening, Premier. Thanks for joining us. You've spoken about how Tasmania has avoided the high number of cases seen in New South Wales and Victoria, but if we do see the same spike, will our hospitals cope?
Well, Rachel, that's exactly the point and why we've been so strict in terms of the measures. We want to ensure that we flatten the curve, that we don't get to the same state that Victoria, New South Wales or Spain or Italy or any number of other countries around the world. And that's why it's so important that Tasmanians abide by the rules. Stay home, stay safe. Now, it's a simple message, but it'll save lives.
We've seen already, though, the situation in the northwest. Will the hospitals actually cope if we do see a dramatic spike?
Well, again, in terms of the northwest, and whilst we have an outbreak at the Northwest Regional Hospital, we are aggressively tracking and tracing to ensure that we find any contacts of people that have been infected and ensuring that we self-isolate them as quickly as we can. The key point here is that all Tasmanians need to play their part. They need to abide by the rules, they need to stay home, they need to stay safe, and importantly, they need to help us save lives.
Well, let's hope they do that. But a lot of viewers have actually contacted 7 Tasmania, really anxious about the number of people in places like Bunnings and Kmart. Now, you've shared those concerns. How are you actually going to stop this from happening?
Well, some of those stores have already taken into account very strict measures inside in terms of social distancing. But the most important thing that people need to understand is that if you don't need to go out to purchase essential supplies, don't. Don't go out browsing. You know, this is not a game. People's lives depend on this. And it truly is a matter of life or death. You know, at the end of the day, if you don't need to go out for essential supplies, if you don't need to go out for medical services, if you don't need to go out for exercise or for work or school, stay home and help us to save lives.
We've got a really long way to go with this. What's your message to Tasmanians who might already be losing hope during this time?
Look, we will come out the other side of this. And to be honest, I believe that Tasmanians will dig deep. They will do the right thing. They will work together to get through this, and it's important that we do. But the most important thing, though, is for all of us, wherever we are in this state, to abide by the rules, stay home, stay safe, and importantly, help us to save lives.
Premier, you've been praised for your leadership during this crisis. Do you think you would have taken on the role of Premier 2 months ago, as you've done, if you'd known this would have been the situation?
Well, Rachel, COVID-19 wasn't in the job description, but the job description is to simply get on and do the right thing by the Tasmanian people. And as Premier, that's exactly what I intend to do.
Have you spoken to your predecessor, Will Hodgman, at all?
Look, I have. Will and I have been in touch almost weekly. He's offering support. Obviously he has a very strong affection for this state and for the people of Tasmania. But it's now my job to step up, lead the state, and importantly, make the decisions that we have to make, unfortunately for some, to ensure that we keep everybody safe.
And just finally, because we do appreciate the time you're spending with us, but today, a very special day in your household, your daughter's 16th birthday. You must be very sad missing out on being with her today.
Look, I had a lovely day with the family yesterday, and to Millie, happy birthday, darling. I'm sure this will be a 16th birthday that you will remember. And importantly, remember social distancing. If you're going out for a walk with your boyfriend, stay 1.5 metres apart.
Very good advice indeed. Thank you so much for your time today, Premier.
Thanks very much, Rachel.
Premier Peter Gutwein joining us a short time ago. Well, a Tasmanian man has been charged for not complying with COVID-19 isolation rules. The 50-year-old had recently returned from Victoria and had been provided with accommodation at a government facility. Police say he later breached the isolation requirements. He was bailed to appear in the Launceston Magistrates Court. If you thought this morning was especially cold, you weren't wrong. Snow has fallen across parts of the state, dusting Cradle Mountain and even falling at lower altitudes around Noonamara. Northern Tasmania also saw up to 22 millimetres of rainfall this morning. A Tasmanian chocolate factory is putting the final touches on its handmade orders a week out from Easter. Times have been tough this year, but House of Amber's says it's still experiencing some sweet surprises.
Angela Trelogger might just have the world's best job.
What do I enjoy about it? Chocolate, obviously. Like, who doesn't love it?
Her and her team start preparing the eggs and bunnies in mid-January.
The Easter eggs are a moulded product. They consist of 3 layers, so the truffle eggs, we do the shell twice and then put a pattern on the outside of it.
Each one handcrafted with a personal touch.
Every one is different, so they're all hand-painted, so we put a spritz on it or we do a marble.
Igor Van Gerwen has been making the creamy creations for more than 30 years. But like many businesses, it hasn't been a smooth run this Easter. Igor has had to close the Anvers Cafe and stand down 40 staff during the crisis. Fortunately, he's been able to keep the shop in Latrobe open and has turned his attention online.
We've also did more advertising of our online sales, and that's really taken off. I would think 7-fold. Yeah. It's just every day it seems to be more and more people getting online.
Supporting a struggling business, one Easter egg at a time. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmanian News.
Residents in the Greater Hobart area raised their voices last night to honour those struggling through the coronavirus crisis. Some taking to their lounge rooms, others out on the street with a microphone in a show of appreciation for our health workers and recently unemployed Tasmanians.
On a train bound nowhere, you never count your money when you're sitting at the table.
The event was organised by a Bridgewater Gagebrook community group inspired by action in the United Kingdom. A Tasmanian musician is plucking the strings of community generosity by raising funds for struggling fellow performers. Lee Ratcliffe is using social media to reach out to the public amid lockdowns impacting the livelihoods of many local players.
The spotlight switched off at pubs, clubs and venues across Tasmania, remaining closed indefinitely, a major blow for many in the music industry.
As a musician, it was really scary because for a lot of us, it is our income, it is our wage. My heart broke for every single one of us, also the venues.
Leading to a Tasmanian musician raking up community funds to assist performers who have now lost their safety nets.
We've helped pay their rent, buy groceries, pay for their gas bottle, all these sort of things, just to alleviate a little bit of stress at a time that's really, really difficult.
We don't want to see people go without. We don't want to see people lose something that they've worked really, really hard for.
Lee, currently in isolation to help protect his immune-suppressed wife undergoing chemotherapy. His situation spurring the idea of a live stream on his Facebook page every Friday night from 9 till 11, featuring himself and other local performers via video chat.
I'm through with hanging round with all the boys in town.
I've reached out to local businesses, particularly ones that are still going okay and aren't having too much trouble at the moment, and they are sponsoring the weekly stream. So with that money, along with anyone that donates, we've been able to give some money to people that are really in need at this time.
Tasmanian Muso Aid has raised more than $6,000 in the past month. Ruby Kamane, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's craft breweries have banded together this weekend for a beer festival with a twist. They've taken to social media for a virtual experience, allowing drinkers to learn more about their favourite drops from the comfort of their own homes.
Bringing the beer tasting experience into the lounge room of thousands via the internet.
It's rusty, funky, balanced. You immediately get a nice sort of dry Brett DeMices type character on the nose.
The 2-day isolation beer festival has no crowd limits, nor do you need to pay to enter. Local brands upload videos to the festival's Facebook page, allowing those interested to watch from their couch.
They're bringing people into the brewery, and you're seeing behind the doors what normally happens in the day-to-day life of a brewer or day-to-day operation of a brewery.
22 independent brewers taking part, aimed at encouraging Tasmanians to support the local industry. Moo Brew, one of those participating, mixing some fun with tips on how to enjoy the product.
It was good to be able to share that with some people, and then we did a blind tasting, and it was actually blind. I had a blindfold on, and we tasted some beers and had a bit of a chat about them as well.
The event reached more than 10,000 people on the first day, as the thirst grows for specialised tasting events.
We are seeing now cicerones and people that are training in tasting beers out and about in the hospitality industry, and we find that the consumers are really keen to find out what they're tasting.
And it's also serving as a way to bring people who are currently isolated together.
You're having a beer, you're sharing it with your friends and other beer drinkers online. So, it really lets people know that they're in this together.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening, everyone. Temperatures well below average today, with Launceston and Devonport 15 degrees, 14 in Burnie and Hobart a top of 13. Across the state, snow and showers eased during the afternoon, with Smithton and the Islands reaching 15 degrees, Lowhead 14, 13 in Strawn, Ouse and Friendly Beaches, and just 5 degrees at Lyowini. Over Tasmania today, cloudy conditions can be seen moving east and developing into a spiral around a low pressure system. Across the rest of the country, clear skies can be seen over central Australia, with cloud dominating the remainder of the continent. Thick cloud bands lie to the east and southwest of Tasmania, as well as over Western Australia. Tomorrow's chart shows the high remaining over the Southern Ocean and continues to extend a ridge over most of the continent. Troughs dominate the coastal area of northwestern Australia. West to southwesterly winds 15 to 25 knots tomorrow, although 20 to 30 knots in the lower east and far south. And there is a strong wind warning current for lower eastern and southern coastal waters from Wineglass Bay to Low Rocky Point. Partly cloudy and 16 in Hobart tomorrow, 15 with showers in Dover and Ouse. Launceston partly cloudy and 18 degrees, 17 in Devonport, early frost and 16 in Scottsdale. 17 in Burnie, showers easing and 15 in Strawn, Stanley 17 with morning showers. And in the east, St Helens and Swansea partly cloudy and 17, and Ross reaching a top of 15 degrees. Looking on to Tuesday now, showers about western, central and southern districts, clearing in the evening. Fine on Wednesday with southwest to southerly winds, and on Thursday fine with morning frost inland. 32 in Perth tomorrow, a shower or two, and 21 in Adelaide. Melbourne 17 and partly cloudy, 18 in Canberra, and Brisbane 29 degrees. And currently Hobart, mostly clear and 8 degrees, Launceston 9 and partly cloudy, and Devonport clear and 8. And Rach, it looks like winter's nearly here.
You're not wrong, it was freezing this morning. Thank you very much for that, Chelsea. Well, that's all your news for now. Have a nice week. Bye for now.